myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say to...
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is the Monday Club. I'm joined by my man on the door, Joe Walker. How are you?
Evening, mate. All right?
Yep, good to see you, mate. As always, it's your chance to get your point across on the show. If you want to join us on there, the link is in the chat. By all means, click on it and jump on. I'm sure we'll have a few regular faces and maybe a couple of new ones as well. If you fancy it, don't be shy. Get yourself on, make your point. We don't bite, and we might leave a few of the lads on if they want to stay on. More than happy to do that. By all means, feel free to stay on and go off as you want to or wish. England's team sheet tonight, for those of you who are interested in international football. England playing Germany tonight. Might give it a bit of a flick over in between Coronation Street. But Nick Pope, Reece James, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Eric Dyer, Harry Maguire, that's one of the reasons I don't watch it. Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, and Phil Foden. And the only substitute of any note on the bench is Kieran Trippier. Yeah, I mean, look, I won't be watching this. I've got no interest in it at all, Joe. And as I said last night, you know, in an international league where people are getting relegated, I've just never known anything as daft and as stupid. I've got no interest in this whatsoever.
I'm exactly the same, Steve. I took no notice at the weekend, and it's interesting, you know. Any other time you'd be thinking England play Germany tonight, it'd be just a massive event, wouldn't it? We'd all be desperate to watch it, but I'd rather be stood out here in the cold with you, to be honest. Bit of interest, isn't there? You know, obviously Nick Pope starting again for England, so good luck to him. But as for the rest of it, Steve, I mean, you've just hit the nail on the head. Bless him. You know, this is an England team that gets picked on merit and form, and yet here we are having to watch Harry Maguire. So yeah, I'll see what's happening on Corrie the same as you.
Cold and wet and red call. Good evening to you, Don, and good evening everybody in the chat. Thanks to Paul, as always. Still in work from Paul. He shared it on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. Paul, big supporter of all the NUFC podcasts and a good lad to boot. Good to meet him on a couple of occasions already. Okay, the worst kept secret in NUFC Matters history is that this man has decided to come back. Here he is.
I'll take him over.
The Spenny bag is back. Slimline Spenny, how are you?
All right, you.
Yes, very good, mate. Good to see you've got a photo of Keith Patterson on your T-shirt as well.
You know, the only thing I got for note of him.
Welcome back, mate. Good to see you. And obviously England playing tonight. Are you interested in this game, or are you more of a club rather than countryman, Spenny?
I'm going to watch the serial killer on Netflix series. That's
right.
Watch. It's really good. I'm not watching England.
Yeah, it's not as interesting as watching Newcastle, to be fair. And as I was saying to Joe, I just kind of understand the whole relegation part of it, you know, and being relegated, which means now that England won't be seeded in the next in the Euro Championships. It's just crazy. It's hard to follow for starters. It used to just be knockout competition. Now they're trying to make it more difficult.
But like I said, Steve, when we grew up, we wanted to watch England. Now we want to watch Newcastle in the Premier League. It's all changed. Simple as that. England doesn't bother me and whatsoever. England's just a hindrance at the moment because we can't watch our own team because of it.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
There's no games on. I'm proud of my country, but for me, it's like watching a friendly game for Newcastle.
Yeah, it's not great. I've got to be honest, and I've got to concur with Adam Pearson on Twitter when he basically said, "Please don't get injured," when he saw that there was a chance of Nick Pope and Trippier starting, but there's not. No chance of that. We've got Nick Pope in goal. Trippier's on the bench. Let's just hope they both come through okay. This man hasn't managed to avoid injury, and word coming out tonight, Joe, that Isak will not be fit for the Fulham match, which is a big blow.
Just reaffirms everything Spenny's just said about pointless international football, doesn't it? listen, it could only happen to Newcastle United. I'm sure Erling Haaland will come back absolutely flying, fully fit, no problem whatsoever. Only we could sign a £63 million centre forward, let him go training with Sweden and then don't see him for a month. So we were pinning a lot of hopes on him, weren't we? Because we don't know how fit Guimaraes is now. We don't know where Wilson is. We don't know where Sam Maximin is. So pretty much all we had going forward, really, or all we had, our focal point was Isaac. And here he is getting sent home early, and, hopefully it'll be a precautionary thing, but it's just our luck, isn't it? Absolutely just our luck.
Yeah, Isaac, it's a big blow, isn't it, Spenny? I think you were down at Liverpool, you were there, you saw that wonderful game he played, a great goal he scored, another one chalked off, which we all felt should have stood, but, struggled a little bit after that, hasn't really had the service in the form, and be able to show the form that he has, and been robbed of the chance of playing alongside our best players like ASM and Bruno and Callum Wilson. So ultimately, this is a bit of a blow for us with other players now starting to look as if they're coming back.
It's just a story of Newcastle all over again, isn't it? We're getting the right place, right time, get everybody back in, right, and then we end up getting someone injured. You know what I mean? As far as I watched him against Liverpool, he's fantastic against Liverpool, mind. Even Steve, I was sat next to Steve Watson, believe it or not. He was still rows in front of me. It would be bands and all that, and he come up to the home game, the last home game as well. I saw him there as well. Same as always, coming back into it again. Yes, he sees flashes. The last game, I felt so sorry for him. The last game, he wasn't getting that service at all. They're playing for Chris Wood on the way they were playing. They were playing for Chris Wood playing on the field, and Chris Wood hasn't been getting that service. And when Chris Wood came on, they played right. Is it
went the other way? Yeah,
like a role reversal all the time, and coming back injured, that is a knock for us. I hope Wilson's back. Hope he is back Saturday, because who else are we going to play up front?
Well, Wood's injured as well, isn't he?
Wood's injured as well.
Right.
Yeah, dodgy. You can't play him up front. There's only maybe Zalma on.
Yeah, it looks like Wilson will play. He almost made Bournemouth, so it looks as if he may play. But Wood led to believe that the injury probably isn't too serious. I mean, he was signing autographs at the end. He clattered the advertising hoardings, which is why he had his ribs strapped up and had ice on them. But hopefully, won't be too long for Chris Wood, and that gives us another person available that weekend. And ASM certainly looks as if he's making a bit better recovery now. Certainly, used his time well in France, been with a personal trainer. So we will wait and see. Anyway, we're going to bring in Darren, who's a regular on the show on a Monday night. Good evening, Darren. How are you, mate?
Hello, boys. I'm glad to get everybody else on the night, so we've got something to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, just saying, Darren, it's there's not a great deal of interest on this panel so far with the England game, and Joe made the point about England Germany. Normally would be like, you'd have the cans out, you'd be have your mates round, you'd have the nibbles on, you'd be sitting watching this one, or you'd be down the pub with your mates. But there's just none of that with this game, and I don't know whether that's down to the fact that it's the Nations League has got everyone just scratching their heads thinking, what on earth is this format? Or whether it's the decline, unfortunately, in the results and the performances from Gareth Southgate's team, which has got everybody on a bit of a downer with England.
I think it's a bit of both. It's a pointless tournament anyway, and Southgate's not done very well. He's just been lucky in the last two tournaments. One we should have won, guaranteed. At England's inexperience, that's why we didn't win it. But now when he first took over, he said he wouldn't play players who wasn't playing regular. He's backtracked. Maguire, Luke Shaw, do you know what I mean? It's just, I think if England get a chance not to go to the World Cup, take it, because it's going to be embarrassing.
Funny with Maguire as well, Darren, because I said this on more than one occasion now, but he had all that trouble abroad when he was on holiday, and he had this court case hanging over him, and I just genuinely felt that his mind just wasn't on the job. He's never really played well since that, and I don't know whether that's still hanging over him or not. I really don't.
He doesn't. I don't know. It just looks. He's always like, he's got a mistake in him, and like the Man U fans don't really like him. They criticise him left, right, and centre. So he's not Mr. Reliable. He's unreliable, and he hasn't played for Man U best part of the season. Sort of the season anyway. He's always been on the bench, and and Southgate saying, "I want to give him a confident boots." Well, he shouldn't be in the team.
Yeah, interesting. Barry Hogan says, until we get a decent number of squad players, we will always have this. Any news on Wood's injury? It doesn't sound as bad as it was, Barry. That's what I was saying. Maybe it's just before you tuned in. Kenny says, we're talking about all these players and their injuries, but I think our lack of form is due to we're losing Shelby. The midfield can't play the way they did. Yeah, who would have thought would have been missing Shelby as much? And we need the win too versus Fulham, but I'm still confident we will get it. But a mixed opinion about whether we'll get that result. Joe, do need to come to you just about our ongoing score predictor. We didn't get a chance to make the announcement on Friday. I believe you want to make the announcement now about who was our manager of the...
We were too busy talking about economics and things like that, weren't we? Pretending we were all clever. So I got just for an update. I didn't realise actually this month really crept up on me. So in terms of the Super Six, this month we have got a new manager of the month, and that was Alan Hall. So congratulations, Alan! 51 points, which is fantastic. And he actually made the point on Twitter because I think I called him out one week for being like he was second bottom of the league next to that fella we can't talk about who allegedly got locked out. But Alan's gone from zero to hero. So well done, mate. And if you haven't already, get in touch with John Allen and John will sort your prize out for you. So yeah, massive congratulations. And just to let you know that the next round, the deadline is the 1st of October, which I think is Saturday. Is that right? Yeah. So get your predictions in for kickoff by next Saturday. So well done, Alan.
Okay, well done, Alan. Yeah, John at NUFCmatters.com is who you need to contact. He might be in the chat tonight. And if you want to come on the chat tonight, click the link in the chat and you can come on screen with me, Darren, Spenny and Joe. Kevin says, Steve, thoughts on Pope's last match? Didn't do anything wrong and didn't look out of place. No, he didn't. Finishing off on England, Joe, Pope looks very accomplished and could do nothing about the goal.
I'll be brutally honest, mate. I never saw the goal, but it's great, isn't it? We're signing international footballers, and when was the last time we had 2 or 3 Newcastle players in an England squad? And long may that continue. We need more and more. I hope to see Elliot Anderson pull that shirt on one day. That'd be fantastic. Going back to the point the lads were making about Harry Maguire, and I don't mean this with black and white specs on, but how good do you have to be better than Dan Burn, by the way? Because that lad hasn't put a foot wrong at all. So England must have some fantastic central defenders, or there's a rabbit away somewhere with Maguire et al. So yeah, it's good. I think for us, we've toyed with, we were all sat on the fence a little bit, particularly towards the end with Martin Dubravka, for example. And what does Newcastle United do? We go out and sign now what hopefully will become England's number one, and England's number one for a long time as well. So I think it's fantastic. The lad's come in, he's done nothing wrong. He looks really good for us. I think he makes the back four look better. And if that's going to be the same for England, great.
Yeah, Nick Pope's impressed you, Darren, hasn't he? And I mean, he looks great as England's number one.
Yeah, he looks he's cool as a cucumber at the back. He's telling his back forward to be and all that, and settling just right. And if he gets, Eddie needs to get the centre half sorted out. It's going to be Botman in Dan Burn, or it's going to be Shaw. And I think Botman's right to play because he didn't go away with the focus of getting started for the first team. But I like Pope. He's just cool. He's just everything steady. You watch him.
Yeah, he does. Spenny, you've been impressed by our new goalkeeper?
Well, I was impressed last season, Steve. I thought was the best keeper we got, didn't you, at St James's when he was playing for Burnley. That's Stewart and all them there. And I wanted him to sign. I was over the moon when he signed. I think he's a cracking player, and I'm pleased he's getting his start. I think it was 1902, the last English goalkeeper we had, who played for Newcastle. That's how long ago it was. So, going back to Maguire, I agree with Joe. I don't know how the hell he's there, but Luke Shaw playing tonight as well. Why the hell's Luke Shaw? How many games has Luke Shaw played for Man U this season? He's been on the bench most of the season. Why can't Taggart have a go? Taggart in.
Yeah, Alan Thompson's got a different view. You should come on, Alan, and express this. He says, Nick Pope playing tonight. I just hope we don't get beat 3 or 4-0 as Pope was pathetic against Italy. My mum could have saved that goal. Hope he doesn't lose confidence. No chance, Joe. Pickford's number 1. Thanks, Alan. Always good to have an alternative view.
If I'd have been slaughtered if I'd have said that.
Hey, Alan, he's got opinions, and I always like to read them out because there's nothing wrong with having a different opinion. Let's talk a little bit, Joe, about the chaos. Not really now that the rail strike has caused, but it looks as if there could have been a little bit of a blip as far as selling the tickets is concerned, because according to Newcastle United's supporters on Twitter today, people are receiving phone calls asking for tickets back for Fulham because they've sold over their allocation. Now, if that's true, that's a major faux pas, isn't it? Major problem.
I thought Premier League, the clue's in the title, isn't it? The Premier League, we are the best. We do everything correctly and just so. I thought these days had gone, Steve, and I wouldn't have thought, not that I own a ticketing organisation, but I wouldn't have thought it would be too difficult. You have 2,000, you sell them, and then that's it. You don't have 2,000 seats and say, we'll sell 5,000 and hope for the best. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? And I don't know whether it's an issue at Fulham's end. I don't know if it's an issue at our end. But not only, we had this conversation a few weeks ago, didn't we? Not only are we looking out for train timetables and can we get a boat down there and can we fly down there and all that. Now we're wondering if we're going to have to sit on Spenny's knee while we watch the match. It's a frightening thought.
Yeah, Darren, it's a strange one. It was Darren Curry, actually, who put this out on Twitter saying, I'm hearing Newcastle have oversold tickets for Fulham and are ringing people now on 80 to 70 points to purchase tickets. Not sure by how many. It's quite an interesting thread that. Give Daz a follow at Daz Curry on Twitter. That combined with the rail strike, mate, it's just a nightmare. I mean, I've got shot of my ticket for the weekend. I'm a bit disappointed, but I just didn't fancy a trip down in the car or the bus, I'm afraid. And I'm probably going to sit and watch it at home. Even talking about bringing back for 1 week only. Match Day Live. So we can get it. We might do Match Day Live. Sit and revisit what we did in lockdown. But yeah, Darren, what's your thoughts on that? It does sound like a bit of a nightmare for Newcastle fans.
Yeah, we're meant to be getting things sorted out by the club right through. It's a bit unprofessional, isn't it? There's people, how many honest people are going to say, are going to hand them back? They're going to hand down, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? I know the strange one. But
it is.
They should do better than that, really.
It is, and fans are ones who always suffer as well, Darren, aren't they? Unfortunately,
They spend the money to go to the away games, and they could have booked. Soon they got the ticket. They could have booked a plane or something like that. They're not going to get the refund. That's the thing you got to take in consideration.
Yeah, it is, Spenny. I mean, it's not great, is it, when you hear these kind of things happen? And it's it's the first mistake that we've heard, that's been made by somebody at the club since the takeover. I mean, 1 year and one mistake of some kind of performance like that isn't too bad, really.
Well, what I've heard from the War Flags group, WhatsApp group, it's the people that's paid extra. The ones that go in the boxes and all that. Mm-hmm. They're getting wrong because they paid extra. Not actually the people are going in the way end. It's the ones in the boxes and that who paid extra. They're the ones that's getting the phone call. That's what I got. I've just been told 20 minutes ago. Anyway, Steve.
Okay, well, that's interesting if that is the case, but it's still an oversell, which isn't good.
When you have a package, you pay for your meal and all that, and then your seat and all that. When we do at Newcastle, I think it's them people that's done that. It's actually Fulham's end, apparently.
Right, okay, so that makes it a little bit more sensible and a little bit more clearer for us. But anybody else has had any phone calls, give us a shout, let us know. Yeah, it's a cracked rib. Thanks to I've lost the tweet, Paul Tweedy on Twitter. He said Wood's injury is a cracked rib. It's a cracked rib. That's painful, and that's gonna take him out of the game at the weekend, I would have imagined, because you can't do anything with ribs other than rest them and just get on with it. So, that doesn't sound too good at all. Blue Rhythm Boy says, don't mind Southgate running the national team like a club. Let's get behind him. talking about the game being postponed. It's not going to happen, guys. It's the game will go ahead now. If Palace can't make 43 miles, we've no chance. Well, unfortunately, we haven't put a cancellation in. Roger's saying he's still not sure how he's going to get down there. He's talking about driving down. When I was speaking to him earlier today on WhatsApp.
You would think the club would do something here, put like a bus or something on for the supporters, wouldn't you? If the train strike to get people down there struggling for lifts. Just an idea.
Kevin's clearing it up here, Spenny. He says it'll be Fulham's end with a reduced crowd owing to this new stand being built. So it sounds as if they've maybe given us the wrong amount of tickets. Maybe that could be the problem. That could be the big problem. Well, we'll wait and see. Everyone will. This is from Tommy. Says, even and everyone, will we ever have a fully fit first choice 11? Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last time we actually had a fit squad, Joe. When we didn't have these kind of problems with injuries, and I seem to remember Rafa going through a pretty good spell without injuries. But even he hit a brick wall at some point as well with injuries, didn't he?
Yeah, it's. But it happens to us. This is not a new thing, is it? For some reason, this football club cannot keep players fit. Now, I don't know if we're either really, really, really unlucky, or we've got people in the medical department or the physios or whatever. Apparently, we're cursed. Apparently, the training pitches get too wet and boggy, and whatever it may be. But it'd be nice, Stephen, and that's what we've been talking about, haven't we? Let's judge where we're at when Isaac and Wilson and Sam Maximin and everybody else is fit, Gumares is back. Then we'll see where Newcastle United are at and where we need to strengthen. But it's a great point, it's a great point Tom makes. Will we see it? The luck we have with injuries, I don't know. I'd like to think in 3 years' time we don't have what we call a first team, a first 11. Think about some of the clubs, challenging for the top of the league, particularly Manchester City. Do they have a first 11, or have they got a first 22 that they can just chop and change and do what they want when they want? That's the long-term aspiration, and maybe we wouldn't then be really worried that Chris Wood, for example, is not going to be fit on Saturday. But for now, we absolutely need them. We've got to get them fit. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Surely if it has got anything to do with the weather and the bloody ground and how bloody boggy the grass is and all that, surely we've got people with scientific brains, in the grounds department that can sort all this stuff out. So it'll be interesting to see things like that get addressed with the upgrades to the training park. But I don't know, Steve. We might just be really unlucky.
No.
Hi, Darren. I'm saying that we seem to have really struggled with injuries up front this season.
Oh yeah, totally. Because kids out and you pray now Wilson's back, because Saturday's going to be a hard game Saturday because Fulham's on a high. They played good football and they're going to come all going blazing against us. Mitro's playing his old club. He's going to be for a good scrap in defence. You know what I mean? But they're flying. We're not, and now we've got some confidence, but not as much as them. And like Joe was saying, we haven't yet to see a full fit Newcastle team. And I think it'll be a while yet.
Yeah, Spenny, injuries seem to be coming thick and fast for us, but just to the forward players.
It's just the same old story, Steve. I thought this would change when I was taken over, because it's gone by years and years. Every manager's had the same problem. We blame the training pitch. We blame the fitness, what he's doing in the training with Steve Bruce when he used to turn up for training. And then we used to blame, obviously, the training ground where we used to put them in paddling pools. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know whether it's down to the training or it's just bad luck. I'm going back to Yuri Geller because he came up and tried to sort something out of the ground. He's got that much bad luck, didn't he?
Paul Gallant asks, quick question for Joe. Has the betting on England changed much since we qualified? Just thinking, Joe, higher price for the World Cup. Is he trying to lure us into a false sense of security? Maybe that's one you can look at for the weekend, Joe, as an addition.
Yeah, I'll certainly have a look. It hasn't really. England are still 7-1. I think that's about right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth favourite to win the cup, apparently, behind Brazil, France, and Argentina. So, whatever the bookies are looking at, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure Southgate's going to spring this master plan in the World Cup, and we'll look like world beaters. But yeah, the book hasn't really changed, Paul, to be honest. So, if you think it's coming home, 7-1.
3-1 for Eddie Howe to go to England as the next manager as well, which is slightly better odds.
Well, that's one of the things we were talking about, Steve, wasn't it? It's all right saying England are naff and the football's rubbish and they're not scoring goals. Another tournament for Southgate, like Darren was saying, we should have and we could have and arguably should have won a trophy under him. I think some of that was more down to luck and the opponents than it was us being absolutely blind, and to be fair. But it's really interesting because if Southgate's luck does run out at some point, who is the next England manager? They like well-spoken, articulate, quiet, non-trouble causing, kind of young, charismatic managers, don't they? Mr. Howe kind of ticks those boxes, doesn't he? So it'll be interesting to see what, to track how Eddie Howe's progress goes. I think Graham Potter was probably top of the list to replace Southgate. He's now got the big job at Chelsea. So yeah, maybe Eddie Howe's stock's rising. So good luck, Gareth.
Yeah, good luck, Gareth. I saw an interesting post about Premier League pairings on Twitter today. It was Sky News, I think, were putting it out there. And all the usual suspects were in there. But I think a lot of Newcastle fans were saying Beardsley and Cole. Catching up with us, Joe, we had this discussion the other week. Who were the best pairing? And Sky seemed to have taken it upon themselves to follow in our footsteps. But I know your pairing was that. Darren, did you have a particular favourite pairing at Newcastle?
Mine was same as Joe, Andy Cole and Peter Beardsley. That was unbelievable.
Yeah. Spenny.
Definitely the same. I did a dream team for you. My dream team, weren't they, mate? I would always pick Cole over Shearer, to be honest, because Cole got us up there and got us the goals, and he scored so many goals. I know Shearer scored a lot of goals, but when Cole was at Newcastle, there was no other player I've seen like that as a striker playing in front of us, playing for us.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding partnership, and I couldn't really see past that. But yeah, interesting to see what other people think. Obviously other pairings have come about. I think Andy Cole made it into another one there as well. I think from his days. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, his days at Manchester United when they won the treble, didn't they? I think.
Yeah. I mean that was class. But for me, I don't know. There was something about it. It's Pedro, isn't it? And Andy Cole just give him the ball and he'd score. But there was something magical about Pedro, wasn't there? So yeah, Dwight York was a great player, but he wasn't Peter Beardsley. Let's be honest.
Like you said, John Barnes. Yes, John Barnes and Gary Lineker, who their best player they played with.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pick Beasley because they made them goals. They made them everything.
Just away from Newcastle as well. I mean, it's Monday today. We call it Monday. Watford just call it another day to sack a manager. That is quite a remarkable record for any football club,
isn't it?
I mean, it's crazy, Darren, isn't it? I mean, just running through the last 12 permanent bosses. Rob Edwards, 11 games. Roy Hodgson, 18 games. Claudio Ranieri, 14 games. Muniz, 36 games. Ivic, 22 games. Nigel Pearson, 22 games. Flores, 12 games. Javier Gracia, wow, he got something right. 66 games. Marco Silva, 26 games. Mazzari, 41 games. Flores, Mark II, 44 games. And Jokanovic, 36 games. I mean, that's just ludicrous, isn't it, Darren?
It's nuts because Slaven Bilic, he doesn't look great. He wanted a Premiership manager job, and he left his other job in January, didn't he? He doesn't feel any confidence, but he may come and do an alright job. But me personally, I can't see him doing much with Fulham. It's just they're known for the other. They're like Chelsea, aren't they? The Chelsea, the manager's doing good. They get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think, Spenny, but I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, and it's costing them money each time.
It's just that West London thing, isn't it? Chelsea, QPR, and Watford, they're like musical chairs. The managers, it's unbelievable. How can a team perform when they get the manager 3 times a season, different one? You can you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He gives them a budget, and he keeps his star player, which is supposed to be we were up there. He kept them, so you know what I mean. And he sold maybe 2, but it wasn't his choice to sell them, was it? It was the Germans. So I don't know what's going on. About what we were flying at the time as well. I was doing well up that league, but now I think the top aren't there, so near enough. And I just watched another game, so I don't know yet. It's just great.
But you talk about ownership, don't you? And how many times do you hear people say they're not interested in football? It's a play thing. It's something to do on a Saturday. Can you imagine just saying, look, we drew last week. Howe out. Let's give Mourinho a go, and then he draws against Everton in a few weeks' time, and he's got to go. And no wonder the players don't want to stay. I mean, I'd love to do some analysis on the squad turnover as well, because surely every manager coming in has got ideas, and I want to bring X, Y, and Z in or whatever, and I want to play this way. 20 games later, it's all out the window, and you're starting again. So
going back to how Joe happens, and his contract. Keep thinking in the back of my mind, he's got something in that contract about England, like that he can't leave until he's getting someone in a job or something like that. I think it's going to be obviously in that contract. I know what the length was rumoured till he's 55-year-old, so that's like a 9-year contract. So I don't know.
Interesting one.
No, it is. Blue Rhythm Boy says a more difficult question is the best Newcastle United central defence partnerships. I'll give you a little bit of thought on that one, lads. From my perspective, we'll get in with the ads and we'll come back to that one. So have a little think while the ads are on. Big thank you to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, independent funeral directors. You can find them at 304 Old Durham Road, Gateshead. Telephone 0191 478 273 or email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk or go to the website darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at the GOHD.com. And thanks to 3 Property, who specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the Northeast. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give the guys a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@3property.co.uk if you're interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's Sauces. They are handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk or give them a call on 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video technology side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wolves and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right-hand corner and you can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. It does us a big favour. And click share to share to your social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. Maybe add it to a Newcastle United group. You can also make a donation. Just hit the thanks button underneath if you're enjoying the content and you want to share something with me or the people on the channel. And you can also click join, which means that you commit to maybe a monthly membership, or you can become a cult member. How do you do that? Well, you go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and you search for membership. What do you get for your £25 one-off payment? You get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw. We also have a smart code. There you go, the QR code there. If you put your smartphone over it, it'll take you straight to the website and you can get involved in the cult membership pack today. We also give you something for nothing. If you subscribe to the show, then email John at nufcmatters.com and get your free car window sticker now. We also support the food bank on here. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is the matchday bucket website. You just need to go there and you can make a virtual donation. Don't forget, during the season on match days, we're at the Dog and Parrot with Supermac, pre-match and post-match. And we're at Pumphrey's, John Anderson and John Gibson, pre-match only. Also got the Takeover anniversary party coming up at the Irish Centre. Tickets are £2 on the door, and you can get your tickets for that from nufcmatters.com. And Supermac will be at the Terrace Club in Seaton Delaval, Friday the 11th of November. Tickets are a tenner, table is £650, and you can get those tickets from 0191 237 0133. Couple of other things to promote. The Legends game, Peter Beardsley talking as well, organised by John at QTech in aid of the food bank. Here we go then. It is charity football match at the Fox Hunters Pavilion featuring former Newcastle players against the Manchester's All-Stars team. Adult admission is £5, junior admission is £2, and admission and talk-in is a tenner. Okay, NUFCmatters.com is where you can get your tickets. Friday, October the 14th. I'll stick something up on Twitter about that as well. And if you're looking for a Christmas present, well, Friday, February the 17th, an evening with Peter Beardsley at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets available from NUFCmatters.com now. Tomorrow night, I am back 6 till 7 and then 7 till 8. I'm going to go and do a 2-hour special. Ross Gregory is doing 6 till 7, and then me and Ben Jacobs will be taking you through 7 till 8. So 2 hours tomorrow night. Looking ahead again to Newcastle United being back in action. Okay, before the break, Joe, I asked you for your best centre-half pairing at Newcastle. Have you got one?
I had a beauty, and then some monkey suits just spoilt it there in the chat, because I was going to say Bramble and Boom Song were fantastic. I don't know, Steve. Partnerships. Do you know? I thought was really good, and I don't think the lad ever let us down. And he's probably the most unfashionable footballer to play for Newcastle, with the greatest of respect to him. But I always thought, I used to love Colaccini, but do you not think Colaccini and Williamson always done a job for us? Now, I'm arguably not saying that was the best centre-half pairing we've ever had. But you know, I just thought they were pretty strong, and probably because we've been watching crap like Boomsong, before that. I don't know. We've had some top centre halves as such, but in terms of a partnership, I like Brian Kilcline and Scott. Like proper centre halves, like big filthy dirty centre halves. But yeah, I'd like to say that Shah and Botman could probably go on and be the best ever. But again, we've got to find them a place and get them in the side. So I'll stick with Brian Kilcline and Kevin Scott. But a special shout out to Steve Howe as well, because Steve Howe was a fantastic centre half.
Well, I was going to go Howie and Peacock. Davy Brewis has gone Albert and Peacock and says the Woodgate-Bramble partnership wasn't bad either. What about you, Darren?
Darren Peacock and Philip Albert for me. I like them. That was me when I was young, going to matches. Them two were fun, entertaining years, and I like they were letting a few too many goals in, but I like them together. I've got a soft spot with Darren Peacock and Philip Albert. They're doing great. Worked socks off every game. I like Woodgate to just kind of class Bramble next to me, because he was like had to cover Bramble too. Do you know what I mean? So, that's my opinion.
Spenny?
I'm going to agree with you, Steve. But I hope Steve Howie's not watching it, because he'll be on the phone ringing us and telling us.
That's why I put him in. That's why I mentioned him.
Yeah, Steve Howie was superb though as well. He often spent more time at the back with Darren than Albert did, because Albert liked to forage up front, as we know. So Woodgate wasn't here long enough. Blue Rhythm Boy, you are right there. Youngsters, somebody mentioned earlier, I can't remember who it was, about Dylan Stevenson, and had we seen much of him? It was Barry. There we go. Steve, have you seen much of Dylan Stevenson? He's got a good record in the under-23s. I haven't seen a great deal of him, but the reports about him are very, very good. One would imagine, that if he continues in the same vein, he's going to be knocking on the door. And another guy, I guess, who is actually knocking on the door is this young man, Joe White, who is another attacking midfielder. And in the words of former boss Steve Bruce, He was nicked by Newcastle from Carlisle as a kid before he signed professional, and he is regarded as one of the best talents at the academy. And at one stage, he was neck and neck with Elliot Anderson, who, of course, has made it into the first team. What set young Joe White back was injuries. Obviously, he used the Papa John Trophy as his platform to catch the eye. So, seems to be more youngsters knocking on the door, Joe, which is good. And Newcastle are, renowned for, letting players like that go. We've talked about Bobby Clark on this show on more than one occasion now. And, that was certainly the one that got away. But yeah, Joe White and Dylan Stevenson, certainly another two who could probably make it in.
Yeah, it's just nice to be having the conversation, Steve, isn't it? I think if you remember back to what Amanda Staveley was saying a year ago, if you think about Steve Harper's appointment, if you think about what Dan Ashworth's been talking about, this isn't just about signing Lionel Messi, although that would be nice, and especially if we can get him in before Saturday. But there's something for me, isn't there, about the longevity, the sustainability, and growing your own. And we are investing in the kind of academy end of the pitch. We're investing in the women's game, which is fantastic. We feel like a proper football club all of a sudden. I think yet again, though, we talked all summer, didn't we, about Elliot Anderson? Will he stay? Will he go? Will he play? Will he not? I guess it's about the management of these kids. Hopefully they are good enough, and if they're good enough, they can be on that bench on Saturday, I'm sure. So yeah, it's really nice for once. When was the last time? If you take out kind of Matty and Sean Longstaff, if you go back before then, when was the last time we had people breaking through into the first team? I can't really recall a great deal. So I think it's great. Yeah,
great to see youngsters coming through, Darren.
Yeah, like I say, Elliot Anderson, and he's got a huge future ahead of him. That Daniel Stevens, I've heard he's there. He's got a good few reports. But he can now do the 9 subs, he can get them on the bench, which is a good sign for him to get a confidence booster. That what he wants, he can work hard to get in the team.
Yeah, Spenny. Have you seen any of these youngsters play?
About that White, I went the same once last season, I think it was. He looked decent. He was taking them players well, but his passing ability wasn't as good. Obviously, it's not only just getting the right youth players, it's getting the people who can bring them on a bit better as well. Like, you said when Gaza and all them were there, all that was in place with Jackie Milburn and all them, watching them and all that sort of thing. But like I said, I wish the likes of Beasley and them came back. I know that because of the bother, it does pull these players on. And if you have the right system, what Ali Howe's got in with the coaching staff and someone like him watching him, you know what I mean, giving them pointers, anything can happen, really. You look at Manchester City, they brought Foden on. You look at Chelsea, the South Salah and De Bruyne. You know what I mean? And Man United, how many players they're bringing from youth and winning titles with them. It's all youth in teams and what you bring in with them, regardless of. I haven't heard much about this Irish that we brought over. Apparently, he's supposed to be good as well. I think in the summer. I can't remember what his name is now. He's supposed to be in tip-top as well.
Yeah, there's plenty of youngsters coming in, which, from my perspective is great to see. And some of them choosing Newcastle ahead of, bigger and better teams, you would imagine, at this moment in time. So, yeah, it certainly bodes well for the future. Yes, Chris and Pete now are unloaded, mate. They didn't leave the channel, mate. We just refreshed the program, mate. And, obviously nothing stays the same forever. A bit like Holly, really. She's gone on. She was on Nova Radio today. She's got to concentrate on her studies, etc. And we all jump in and do things when we can. But thanks for your comments, Blue Rhythm Boy. Nice to have you on. Lots of people saying Burton and Moncur as well for the centre halves, which is before our time, lads.
But Roder and someone else, but I couldn't remember who Roder played with. Was it Aiken? I wasn't sure.
Glenn Roder, and he had a couple, didn't he? I mean, Malcolm Brown got injured. David McCreary was in there. John Anderson was in there. Glenn Roder. It's hard to remember.
Roder, did he?
No, I'm trying to think of who he's. Jeff Brown.
Jeff Brown, aye.
Was it Jeff Brown?
Long hair.
Yeah.
Long hair. Blonde hair.
Was it? Yes, it was. And he played for Sunderland as well, didn't he?
And he got some crap. I remember that in the corner because I stuff at him.
He wasn't that bad, actually. That was the 83-84 promotion team. Roder and Saunders, and then Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Where's Saunders? Jeff Clark. That's him, Jeff Clark.
Jeff Clark. I knew he had blonde hair, long blonde hair. Like Steve.
I could picture him. Jeff Brown, of course, reads the sports news on BBC. So good stuff. We got there in the end. Jeff Clark's a good one. The Chronicle always come up with some interesting articles. I did enjoy this one. Anybody at this game?
Me.
Yes, remember it well.
Yeah.
Wow. Probably one of the most embarrassing things I have seen as a Newcastle United supporter at St James's Park in my time supporting the club. And there's been a few, but this really was, there's been some embarrassing performances, but this really was bad. And this whole article stems from an interview that Jermaine Jenis did with regarding this particular incident. What I found really interesting was his quote about Bobby Robson, who said he was very serious about the players eating together. We couldn't leave without his say-so. And on my table every day were Kieran Dyer, Jonathan Woodgate, Lee Bowyer and Craig Bellamy. We'd sit there, eat and chat every single day and got on really well, which he says was a bit awkward after that event. But it was the comment about Graham Souness which made me laugh. He said Graham Souness wanted to fight the duo in the dressing room at full time after that bust up. Memories of that, Joe, unbelievable, wasn't it?
I thought it was class. You know what was more embarrassing as well? The fact that Lee Bowyer was like football's hard man, wasn't he? And I thought Kieran Dyer planted him, to be fair. Listen, apparently it had been bubbling. It had been bubbling and bubbling if you listen to the story. And I can't remember who wouldn't pass to who. But I'm sure Lee Bowyer had said something like, he'd said to Dyer, why won't you give me the ball or something? And Dyer had basically said, because you're shite. Fair enough, mate. But yeah, to start punching each other, it's fantastic. And then to think, you can imagine what it must have been like sitting in that dressing room, can you? Thinking any minute now, Souness is going to come in and take that door off its hinges. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to think it was done because they cared and they were passionate. But maybe it was just egos getting the better of the pair of them, and strange time,
Kenny says his son is called Kieran Lee. What after that incident? Really, Kenny? Is that serious? Darren, your memories of that?
I thought I was saying things at first when he ripped his shirt. What's going on? Yeah, and I was thinking like, what? Two players said, "Oh yeah, we're getting beat this game." But they didn't like each other. That's what I've heard. So they didn't get on in training, and like Joe was saying, it was bubbling all the way through the match. They wouldn't pass the ball each other, and I think Bowyer didn't pass the ball. Then Bowyer went to Kieran, and Kieran ripped his shirt, if I can remember correctly. But it was quite comical, to be fair.
Stevie Taylor was shot earlier in the game. Blue Rhythm Boy again, another bit of embarrassment. Spenny, it's never good to see players fall out, but especially in front of 52,000.
I remember I was in the Gallagher and I thought he was picking them up the ground at first because he was injured. That's what I thought was going on. Then I saw everybody shout, "Oh," like that. I tell you what, I was full of hell after that match. I said they should never play for Newcastle again. How can you have a fight with your teammate on a pitch? You're embarrassing the club and you're embarrassing your teammates and your fans. I was full of that game. They should have been sacked for me doing that on the pitch. It's embarrassment.
Said a lot for Souness's discipline as well, didn't he? He was brought in, he was the disciplinarian, and he was going to sort all these young lads out. And I think for me, that told you everything they needed to know about Souness.
Ozzy Aldeus was more disciplined than him, I'll tell you. I think that went up with Ferguson, knocked his Billy door down.
Aye.
Stephen Donaldson says, can see Eddie taking the England job, and Rafa's back out the woodwork. I reckon Amanda's keen. Rafa Benitez, of course, former manager of this parish. We did like him and gave us a bit of hope back. Could you see that happening? I can't, to be honest, Joe.
No.
Maybe not now, Steve. There's a lot of water under the bridge, isn't there? But don't forget, back in, was it 2017 time? Rafa Benitez was the one that, him and Amanda Staveley had all the ducks lined up, didn't there? And I think had the takeover had gone through 2018-19, Rafa would have probably been the one now sat on a 10-year contract or whatever. But whether there's water under the bridge, obviously Eddie Howe's our manager now, and I'm guessing Benitez will never go without work as long as he wants it. But I don't know. There's still that. Benitez has become that figure a bit like Keegan, when you kind of thought there was always unfinished business and would we get one more go with Kevin? Obviously, time's ran out for that. But yeah, the Rafa Benitez and Newcastle thing doesn't feel totally dead in the water for me.
Interesting. Darren?
I'm not a Rafa lover personally. I think what he done. He tried the Evan job because he was desperate to manage the Premiership again. I'm a great believer it doesn't work second time round. Manager goes back to the club. In my opinion, not work. But I like Eddie Howe. He needs a good 2-3 years. But again, when Southgate gets the sack, I hope he's man to see. I'm not ready for the job yet because he's not. He's still in his trade technically. He's still a young manager, and he needs. Southgate's too young, got the experience. Eddie Howe's learned his trade. Maybe 10, 15 years, he'll be ready for England job. But I wouldn't have Rafa back. I'll be devastated.
Spenny?
What, Rafa for England or Rafa for Newcastle?
Well, it's an interesting one. I think it's more likely to be Rafa for Leicester.
Rafa for Leicester, fair enough. Rafa for England, I don't think he will get an England job. I think Pochettino will get it, to be honest. I think it's because it's the London-based team he's been into and his credentials. I think he'll be the right type of manager we would want for England. Rafa back to Newcastle if Howe goes to England. Well, the only pluses that Rafa got and Howe hasn't got, he can attract big players. That's the only fault that Eddie Howe hasn't got. He hasn't got that pulling power to get big name players. Obviously, he hasn't got the Champions League trophies. He hasn't got the league, the FA Cups and all that everywhere he's gone. So that's maybe. Well, Rafa, when he was at Newcastle, he played for Newcastle to stay up and to be promoted with the funds he's had. Yes, I get the fans didn't like Rafa. When he was at Chelsea, he played a bit negative as well. But when he was at Liverpool and he was at Real Madrid and so on, he played a lot good football.
Interesting. It's a debate that'll run and run until, of course, Rafa gets a job, and then that'll all get parked for a while. Last point tonight, lads, is from Tim Cairns. He's read somewhere that Pedro has agreed to come in January. God, I don't expect to start going on about transfers, Joe, already, but I've seen it starting to heat up in the papers and in the media and online already about Maddison and Pedro, and we're still sitting in September. We've only just shut the transfer window door. Now, people, because the World Cup's on the horizon, it's all starting to kick off again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we should.
Pedro to Newcastle.
The shops are starting to sell like Christmas decorations and that now. I think it's time for a transfer show. I really do. We talked about him in the summer, didn't we? And to all intents and purposes, it wasn't a case of, it was just a case of when, the deal was done, he was coming, everything was sorted. And then, the days went on, and then bang, we signed Alexander Isak and we never mentioned Pedro again. In light of the conversation we had earlier in terms of fitness and our best 11 and all the rest of it, would we need to sign him? Particularly if we're signing people like James Maddison. I don't know. I can't see us signing them both, and I think I'd much rather have Maddison. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that if people are starting in September, whether it's Richard Keys talking about the takeover, now it's about Pedro signing, you can tell it's quiet and you can tell people haven't got anything to write about England, can't you? So let's see next week when the Premier League's back and hopefully all this crap will die down again.
Darren, I think you mentioned it on the show a couple of weeks ago when Pedro was signing his new contract that was probably to get a bit of a higher price out of Newcastle. And I think I've mentioned it a couple of times on here that Eddie Howe did make a point of saying once the transfer window closed, he put out a bit of a cryptic message to those people who maybe hadn't moved in this transfer window, that the next transfer window was around the corner and to keep on doing what they were doing.
Yeah, totally. Like, as I say, you could tell Newcastle were trying to get a few people in, but they were getting over ask people to have some daft money. Pedro was apparently so close. I don't know if it's true or not, but January comes, he may come through, because you can tell we're all lacking two attacking midfield players on the wings, because Amaron hasn't got a clue what he's doing. But we'll just get past January and see what happens, and then who we get in. Because done his dance move on his YouTube channel. His hammy looks alright on his Instagram. So he's fitting to do that. So he might be fit enough for Saturday.
Yeah, let's hope so. Spenny, Pedro, is that a kind of player you'd like to see at Newcastle in the January transfer window?
Not at the moment, no. I would rather have Madison in. I think we've got Isaac in there who can play on the right. We've got Max who can play on the left, all right. And we've got Wilson if he's fit. For me, Pedro's for the future, not for the now. If we're going to get the player in, I will get Madison. I know Howe's wanted his number. That was his number one choice after Botman, Madison. I think we'll go back in for Madison and maybe sign a couple of others on loan. I think that's what we'll do in January. I can't say he's going back in for Pedro. I think he's had his chance. But I think it was up to the player, and he didn't want to come. That's what I've been told.
It'll depend where we are in the table, I think, as to whether we buy many in January, says Blue Rhythm Boy. Rampage says, we've not had the rub of the green, but I think against Man City and Liverpool, we showed it can be done. Blue Rhythm Boy says, Maddison will be an immense signing. And can we please just have fit players and at least have a cup run? Says Stephen. We will bring, for the last couple of minutes, James in. How are you, James?
Sorry I'm late.
Don't worry, James. We've got 5 minutes left, mate. 5 minutes left. What's your take on what you've heard the lads say tonight?
Well, I just popped in on the whole Rafa thing. No for Newcastle and no for England. Even though I don't have a dog in the fight for the England job, I'd take them for the U.S. But, like you said, you don't go back.
Yeah, so I would agree.
Not for me. I think our expectations are much higher than they were, and we can attract. Not saying that Rafa's a bad manager, but I think we can aim a little higher. No more reruns.
What's your take on international football, Jimmy? Obviously, as a USA man, is it interesting to you? Do you follow international football as far as America's concerned?
Well, we seem to enjoy it, and quite frankly, that's all the success that we have was basically started by the women's team, and then we followed the men. But we just. A friendly for us is a big deal because I guess, the MLS isn't the draw of the Premier League. So we're just happy to watch anything other than MLS. But yeah, it's just all a damn money grab as far as I'm concerned. So. I quite like it. I just don't like it in World Cup years. I don't need Nations League. From a Newcastle point of view, we just, Jesus, no more injuries. God.
No,
I don't think the players want it right now. I don't
Yeah,
think they care about the
international fixtures cause absolute nightmares and sleepless nights for us as supporters. I've got to be honest, especially when we've had the bad run with injuries. 2 minutes left, Donald. So we'll bring you in as well, mate. Quick point that you want to make, Donald.
Yeah, but apologies. I just saw your message now. I just see my phone now, and I thought, "Oops, I'm in trouble."
No problem.
Yeah, I'm not bothering with the detention. I'm not bothering with the what was it? The Germany game today. Really, if we go in with the same manager into this coming tournament, then we'll be able to enjoy our Christmas holidays quite early, won't we? Because we ain't going to get very far, are we?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it? You're looking at it now when you're thinking England, they're on the crest of a slump, kind of buy a win. Performances aren't great. Probably going to go into the World Cup with a hell of a lot of criticism. That's what happened in 1990. Bobby Robson was, had already decided he was leaving, and we got to the semi-finals. Is that going to happen in the World Cup? I doubt it. It's a big ask, but who knows? And I guess he has earned the opportunity to go into this World Cup, Donald, because he got us to a semi and he got us to a final.
One thing about obviously to remember about football is past games. You put a line through those. It's about the here and now. In the 2018 and the 2021 tournament, we had a bit of luck on our side, and we got so far. Because in the 2018 World Cup, we really didn't play anybody until the semi-final. Let's face it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, it was like games we really should win, and luckily we did. But once we played someone like Croatia, then we were found out basically where we were at.
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes you need the look of the draw in the cups, and we certainly got it. In that tournament. Okay, guys, thanks very much for coming on. Lots of positivity in the chat. As always, thanks to everybody who participated. Thanks to Darren, thanks to James, thanks to Donald. Great to have Spenny back, and thanks as always to my partner on a Monday night, Joe Walker. Great to have you on. I'm back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock until 8. You've got a 2-hour special tomorrow night. First hour, Ross Gregory. Second hour, Ben Jacobs. Look forward to seeing you all then. Take care. Enjoy the game if you're watching it. Nice, folks.
See you guys.